Today we're diving into the topic of exchange rates. An exchange rate generally refers to the rate at which one currency can be exchanged for another. We distinguish between two types of exchange rates, the nominal exchange rate and the real exchange rate. Let's start by looking at the nominal exchange rate. The nominal exchange rate represents the value at which currencies are exchanged, without adjusting for price level differences. Price-related adjustments, however, are part of the real exchange rate, which we'll cover shortly. Within nominal exchange rates, we differentiate between direct quotation and indirect quotation. To understand these, we first need to define our domestic currency and our foreign currency. In our example, the euro is our domestic currency, while the US dollar represents the foreign currency. If we see a notation like 1.15 US dollars per euro, it means that it costs 1.15 US dollars to obtain 1 euro. The currency on the right side of the slash always has a value of 1. The value on the left indicates how many units of that currency are needed to obtain 1 unit of the currency on the right. This exchange ratio, how many units of the foreign currency, in this case the US dollar, are needed for 1 unit of the domestic currency, the euro, is called a direct quotation. The same ratio expressed as an indirect quotation, how many units of the domestic currency, euro, are needed to obtain 1 unit of the foreign currency, US dollar, would be 0.87 euros per US dollar. So how do we arrive at the 0.87 euros? Switching between direct and indirect quotations is simple. Just divide 1 by the given exchange rate. To get 0.87, we divide 1 by 1.15. To go back from indirect to direct quotation, we divide 1 by 0.87, which brings us back to 1.15. Perfect. That covers the nominal exchange rate. Now let's move on to the real exchange rate. The real exchange rate adjusts the nominal exchange rate to reflect price level differences between the goods and services of the two economies being compared. This allows us to compare the purchasing power of products and services domestically and abroad. The formula for calculating the real exchange rate is real exchange rate equals nominal exchange rate times domestic price level divided by foreign price level. Price levels are calculated using a representative basket of goods, just like in inflation calculations. The price development of this basket reflects the overall price level of the economy. Let's assume our nominal exchange rate is 1.15 US dollars per euro. The domestic price level is 100 euros, and the foreign price level is 105 US dollars. Plugging these values into the formula, real exchange rate equals 1.15 times 100 divided by 105. This gives us a real exchange rate of approximately 1.10 US dollars per euro. So, adjusted for price levels, it takes 1.10 US dollars to obtain 1 euro. Alright, last but not least, let's look at cross-exchange rates. Cross-exchange rates allow us to derive the exchange rate between two currencies by referencing their relationships to a third currency. Let's walk through a quick example. We know the exchange rate between the British pound, GBP, and the euro, EUR, and we also know the exchange rate between the US dollar and the euro. Now we want to derive the exchange rate between the British pound and the US dollar. To do this, we first identify which currency is on the left and which is on the right of the slash. Since the British pound is on the left, we place it on the left in our multiplication. The US dollar is on the right, so we place it on the right. We don't yet know the intermediate currencies, so we temporarily insert an X for each. The exchange rate between the British pound and the first X is known. It's the euro. So we replace the first X with the euro. Since the US dollar must be on the right, the second X must also be the euro. However, we don't have the exchange rate with the euro on the left, so we take a shortcut. We invert the known exchange rate by dividing 1 by the given value. Now we have both exchange rates. GBP to EUR equals 1.40 EUR to USD equals 0.87. We multiply. 1.40 times 0.87 equals 1.22. So the derived exchange rate between the British pound and the US dollar is 1.22 US dollars per British pound. Great. That wraps up our look at cross-exchange rates. I hope this video helped clarify and illustrate the concept of exchange rates. See you next time and have a good one.